Hi, Chris here. I just wanted to put together a quick update video for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, one is quite a bit overdue and I have some updates to share. And secondly, a couple of weeks back, the channel passed the 500 subscriber milestone. Yes, the numbers game can be a trap on YouTube, and anyone with a channel has to be careful not to succumb to that. Of course, there's all sorts of reasons that the number by the side of that subscriber button isn't the be-all and end-all. It's a soft number in many respects. But putting all that aside, I still think it's important to celebrate the milestones when you hit them. And 500 is kind of breathtaking. There's nothing that I can say about it that isn't going to sound trite, but all the standard things that people say in this situation, they're all true. So I just want to say thank you very much to all of you for your support, and onwards and upwards. You may have noticed some style changes to the more recent videos on the channel. I've tried to sort of standardise the typography and presentation in many respects. I've redone the channel art, although I'm still in search of a decent tagline. I've redone a number of the thumbnails, including all the Retro Histories thumbnails. I've gone for a sort of right angle bracket zoomed in green screen motif rather than trying to cram the word Retro Histories into every thumbnail. It's a terrible name and it really doesn't fit well on a thumbnail. I'm fairly happy with those new thumbnails, and looking at the analytics, they certainly haven't done any harm and they may have done a little good. Someone did point out to me that they do look terrible on mobile, so maybe I need to go back to the drawing board on them anyway. But this whole sort of channel restyling is sort of in progress. I've actually been writing myself a style guide while I've been trying to figure all this stuff out. So guidelines of which fonts to use, where italics go, what font sizes, what weights, dimensions of things, and where things go, just to try and standardize thumbnails and things like this. Actually, it's kind of too big a topic to get into now, but I may do a video in a few weeks about why, if you're a creator, you might want to consider creating a style guide and the sort of things that you might put in it. I found it a very worthwhile exercise. I really want to pass that knowledge on. Alright, so what's going on with Retro Histories? The Vulcan Fury episode came out a few weeks ago. I'm right now in the research phase of another 4 episodes. You may have seen the trailer for the sort of mini-series on controversial games. That's going to be 4 shorter episodes about different games that have caused controversy through the years. The first one is going to be on the first controversial violent video game, Death Race, in the arcades in the 70s. There's going to be one on the PS3 launch shooter Resistance Fall of Man, which caused quite the conflict with the custodians of Manchester Cathedral in the UK. There'll be an episode on the prank placed inside Maxis's Simcopter by a disgruntled programmer. And the fourth one will be about the dispute between the Pokemon Company in Japan and Israeli magician Uri Geller. I'm really happy to be bringing more variety to the series. The first 3 episodes that I made, not really by any sort of deliberate decision, all focused on the same sort of era, late 80s, early 90s, and the same platform, mostly about PC. One of them, the Bungie one, was kind of about Mac and PC. But that's just how it worked out. It's not like a narrow niche that I chose to occupy. I want to pick stories from across the whole spectrum of sort of gaming history, not just one country or one platform or one era. I definitely want to get more Japanese and British stories in there for starters, more console games. So I think this series is going to be a really good step towards that. And the other thing is that these are going to be shorter episodes than the ones that have come previously. I don't exactly know how long they're going to end up, but I would assume that it's going to be around the 6 or 7 minute range. So that should be a great help in turning things around faster, which is a skill that I desperately need to develop. All that aside, I am definitely intending to go back to where it started with episode 1 and sort of continue the stories of CRPG series. I did Might and Magic, I definitely am going to do Ultima, and probably Wizardry as well, in due time. It's not especially pertinent to the long-term plan, but it's an interesting data point that the first episode that I did, the Might and Magic episode, continues to way outperform episodes 2 and 3, despite the fact that the first one was the least amount of work, and production-wise is by far the worst. Anyway, in summary, I've got an absolute ton of retro histories that I'd someday like to make, and I'd love to hear your suggestions as well if you've got any requests. An update on 12 in 12, my progress in Game 6 is quite slow. This is the Game Boy Advance tactics game, Advance Wars, and I have already had my arse handed to me several times by the tutorial. Anyway, I'm not in love with it yet, but I am going to push forward and complete the game. It's just taking a while. Finally, I'd like to ask for your opinion on something, and by you, I mean people who have stuck around this far in the video, which means you probably actually care what I'm trying to do with the channel. There probably aren't very many by this point, but you are the right people to ask. As you may know, there are no ads on any of the videos on this channel, and that's for a few different reasons. They don't pay well, for one thing. There's almost no point in enabling them on a channel of this size. They would potentially put pressure on me to change my behaviour in the sort of videos that I was creating, and they're ads. They're rubbish. Like, no one likes online ads. People differ in their level of tolerance to it, sure, but no one actually wants to see them, right? So I can say with some certainty about the future that YouTube ads are not something that I'm going to enable on the channel. But I would still like someday to turn these videos into a source of income, to at least begin to cover the costs. Things like software subscriptions, games that I buy in order to capture, and the occasional piece of hardware like the Elgato that I bought a few weeks ago to capture some of the footage in the Controversies introduction video. So that's all the background. Here's a completely hypothetical question. If I were to start a Patreon campaign for Retro Histories, and if the funds from that Patreon could enable me to deliver videos more frequently, as well as different kinds of gaming history videos that I don't currently have the time for, what would persuade you to chip in? Would you consider doing it now? Would you want my videos to be better first? Are there any rewards that I could offer for contributions that would help persuade you? Do you think that... And remember, this is completely hypothetical. Let's just put it out there, I'm not going to be launching a Patreon this year. But do you think that a Patreon for a channel like this could make sense? Personally, I think I've got a lot of work to do before it's viable, but I truly appreciate your thoughts. Tweet me here, or email me here, or just leave a comment down there. Well, that's it from me. All being well, around the end of the summer, the first Retro Histories Controversies video will be out. But in the meantime, I hope you're having a very good summer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.